Nice little bit of breaking news. I am happy to hear that Harvard, not that I'm a big fan of Harvard, but I will give them credit on this. Harvard did stand up to Donald Trump. They happen to have the largest endowment of any other college in the country. I believe they have $53 billion endowment. So if anybody could weather the bullshit that Donald Trump is, putting on them, it's them. And here's the thing. I mean, this is very fascist playbook. Go after learning institutions because they don't want learning institutions to teach you real shit. They don't want to teach you, facts about science and history. They just want you to teach the things that the dear leader wants. That is fascism 101. Take over education centers and get them to start teaching the propaganda that you want and not actual, science or fact. So Harvard standing up to them it's a big deal. It's a big deal. MIT did as well, so credit to them. Of course, we have noticed in the last, couple of months that there have been some institutions of learning like Columbia University who has capitulated. And you see what that got them. They capitulated to Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump, they promised to give Donald Trump the things that he asked for. And then after Columbia gave him those things, like, we'll institute, we'll have on-campus police to police people's free speech when they go out and protest. We'll do that for you. We'll get rid of those DEI programs that you hate so much. Well, they thought that they were in the clear. That's not how it works with fascism, folks. Fascism goes, ooh, you caved. Nice. Let's see what else I can get out of you. So now they're going after Columbia to get rid of their Middle East studies and and their African studies. What's next? There will be more. So glad to see that Harvard, who by the way was about to capitulate, but then they saw the way that the Trump administration started treating Columbia, and they're like, well, this is going to be a never-ending cycle of extortion. Might as well just go ahead and say fuck it and stand up to him. So they have stood up to him. There was a couple of law firms, big law firms, that capitulated to Donald Trump first. And, Donald Trump said that you can't do any more, legal work except for pro bono work for us. One of them was for $40 million worth of pro bono work, and the other one, was $100 million worth of pro bono work. So you basically cut the legs out from under him. So a lot of other law firms, maybe not quite as big as those two, but so many others, like 100 different law firms, got together and signed this piece of paper saying, we are not going to do this. And that has kind of emboldened those two other law firms to start to balk a little bit on their capitulation with Donald Trump. So I'm seeing that, and that is a little bit heartening. Let's see how far that goes. Donald Trump is going after Harvard in a big way. He's trying to take away their tax-exempt status, which, by the way, he might get, because the nominee for the IRS, his name is Billy Long, who, by the way, if you took a look at the guy, he looks like a big old cuck. And he is. But Billy Long just had all of his debts paid off, which was like up in the upper six-figure range. He just had all of his debts paid off by donors. And so now he's beholden to Donald Trump. So that guy, if he gets nominated, if he gets approved, through his nomination, he will go after Harvard's tax-exempt status. And, when you start cutting into a college's, tax-exempt status, that means that the money that would have gone to like scientific research is going to have to either be cut or, removed entirely to pay for those taxes. So this is not the first time that this has happened. I believe back in the 60s during the civil rights movement, they used the threat of taxes, taking away tax-exempt status from schools to convince them that they needed to integrate. So, the government was on the right side of history for, that particular moment, and they used the threat of tax-exempt status as a way to force those learning centers to allow integration. Now Donald Trump is, doing the exact same thing except for evil as opposed to good. But we've seen this over and over again play out where news medias have complied, like CBS just settled a lawsuit that they didn't have to. They would have won, but they settled the lawsuit, paid Donald Trump money. You see, these large corporations coming in and paying tribute and, paying $1 million to get to Mar-a-Lago just to talk to Donald Trump. And so he gets his little cut and, they're begging and pleading. And a lot of people have been complying or, pre-submission. They go in with their heads bowed. Please don't beat us up, Mr. Trump. But you cannot do that with fascists. They don't stop with just the one tribute. They want more and more and more. And I'm really glad to see that some of these law firms and some of these larger education learning centers like Harvard and MIT are standing up to him. There needs to be more. There needs to be a lot more. I mean, and I know that Donald Trump is a paper tiger, unless, of course, he gets the military involved. But the guy doesn't have, two brain cells to rub together. He's not a very smart guy. He just knows authority. He knows mafia tactics. And he is trying to push every button to get you to capitulate before anything bad happens, like what he's trying to do with Maine. The governor of Maine a month or so ago, stood up to him when, the governor said, I'm not going to comply with you trying to, Maine, I believe, has 2 transgender collegiate students, and in sports, just 2. But Donald Trump is threatening to take away all federal funding that goes to the state, not just for colleges, but for the entire state. So you got to pay federal taxes. All Mainers have to pay federal taxes, but you get nothing from the federal government anymore because Donald Trump is pissed off that you allowed 2 trans students to run track. What are we talking about here? This is childish, stupid ass shit. So, but before I get off on a tangent, I just want to say good on Harvard, good on MIT, and good on these lawyers for signing that petition and standing up to him. We need more of this. We need bodies in the street, but we need more leaders of industry and higher learning to, grow a little backbone. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.